Welcome back to another episode in this series of the Transformers, the creation of a billion-dollar brand. And in this episode, I'm going to be talking exclusively about the toy line. And the toy line, in terms of Hasbro, was the main purpose of the animated series, the animated cartoon television series from 1984, and spanning through, I think, 1987. And the whole purpose of that was to sell this toy. However, one of the ironic facts about the animated series is that many of the toys did not resemble their animated incarnation. But nevertheless, it was still a very popular toy line, and those of us who still have the toys from that toy line, they survived mothers throwing it out, and also it survived process, I guess, of moving or other kids stealing whatever toy they could lay their hands on that they didn't have. Nevertheless, it was a very important feature of, and indeed the base of what Hasbro wanted to do with its marketing rights that it bought from Takara. Now, one of the toys that looked like its manifestation on the cartoon series were the Insecticon toys, which I have right here. And they could easily change into what they looked like. Let me see here if I can get this going here. Into what they easily looked like in the cartoon series. Nevertheless, you had also toys that did not look like the manifestation on the cartoon series, namely the Decepticon planes, Starscream, Skywarp, Thundercracker, those that I already mentioned, Ratchet, Ironhide. Because of my obnoxious disposition, I only collected the enemies. I love the enemies, the villains of the animated cartoons, and so those were the toys I was particularly interested in. But I did have, and it did not survive in my case, Perceptor. I did have another one. I don't think I ever had Bumblebee or any of those toys. The one toy that was magical for me was the Megatron toy. And this toy here, well, this is my favorite toy of the 80s. And I have to talk about that because this goes right into the attachment that Hasbro was trying to create with its marketing campaign. One time, my mother walked in, and I was trying to assemble out of the blocks that I had Megatron. And people have got to understand that the Megatron toy, as I would come to find out, looked nothing like what I saw on TV. But anyway, I walked in and I was trying to assemble the blocks in the form of Megatron. It didn't work. And my mother said, well, we'll just go to the toy store and buy it. And I'll never forget it. We went to Child World, which is out this long gone now. And she got the toy. And as I was walking out, people could see through the Child World bag what the toy looked like and everything. I'll never forget a kid who was older than me stopped me and said, what toy is that? I said Megatron, and they looked at it and they were awed by it. And as we brought the toy home, I tried, as I was impatient to do, open it and see what this toy was going to look like. Well, it just was too complicated for me. And the transforming of that toy became something of a neighborhood event because I had to get my next door neighbor at that time, Ernie, my mother had to get him to come over, transform the toy for me. And my mother was standing there reading off the directions. But anyway, when the toy was transformed, it did not look exactly like the cartoon Megatron, because the cartoon Megatron, just to draw him out quickly, did not have a gun. Let me just draw it out here. Did not have a gun in the pelvis region. It had a, let me just do it this way, and then here's the Decepticon symbol. I'm just doing rudimentary work here. Let me just do it this way. It had, it did not have a, gun in the pelvis, and the gun was back here. And then you had the cannon here. Oh, wow. Believe me, if I had the time, I would do a fantastic drawing, but anyway. In the cartoon series, it looked like this. And, you know, here was in the toy line, the gun was not necessarily meant to go into the back. Anyway. I kept it, you know, I kept that toy, and even though the head kept falling back at one time, you know, as is the disposition of a child, to get annoyed at something and be completely capricious, you know, I threw it away. And then it caused a lot of regrets and remorse on my part. And I begged my mother, please take me to get another Megatron toy. She did. But she said, listen, I'm going to get this toy, but we're not going to bother people about transforming. You do it on your own. I tried to do it on my own, broke off the gun, and tried to crazy glue it back on. But of course, once the gun on that came on the toy itself was broken, it was not worth keeping, and I had to throw that out again. And I think my mother only spent the, what was it, $15 or whatever it was, just for the laugh, just to see me bust my hump, knowing that I was going to break the toy. And fast forward 20 some odd years later, 24 years later, I go to a website called Big Bad Toy Store, and there the Megatron toy is, and I buy it again. But I buy the Takara version. And yes, I am glad to say and happy to say that I can transform it now. But anyway, back then, that was an arduous task. But I buy the Takara version. They had the English version there that everybody knows. But I bought the Takara version because in the original Takara version, let me see if I can do this here, the Megatron toy came with not only a sword, but gun, pellets, bullets. That is to say, also. And the bullets, you can load into the toy and fire. And that is something that the English version did not have. The English language version that we all know did not have the bullets, and did not have the sword either. And even in the reincarnation, or indeed the 25th anniversary of the toy, you can get those things, but, and you also get the Energon mace, but you have to have the gun part, because it was right after that, and that's the reason why Megatron is a tank now, he is not a gun. Laws were passed, as people are doing now. Laws were passed to not only highly regulate the sale of toy guns, which you could get profusely when I was a child, but to highly regulate that, but even to discourage the sale of toy guns. And Hasbro, going along with that trend, thought it was marketable just to change the item that Megatron transformed into completely. And so that's why he transforms into, at least in terms of the robot series now, he transforms into a tank. But I got that because that I felt was completely a cool thing to have. But to emphasize something in terms of the teenagers, you know, it was this toy line, in terms of Hasbro, which did not so much spark the toy convention, but made it a staple, certainly. The idea of toy collectibles. This is what Hasbro ushered in. Because so many teenagers, as they were interested in the animated series, the original Generation 1 animated series, they also went to the store and also bought the toys. And unlike in the past, you see, for the adults of my generation, well, when I was a child, the adults then were so prone to being of the mind that after a certain age, you just didn't collect toys. And you didn't, anybody who was over, I guess, 12, 13, 14, you know, it would have been very weird for you to still be hanging around a toy store collecting toys for yourself. And this is why, just in the same vein of comic books being thrown out, the mother thinking that, well, you know, the child is too old for this now. They throw out the comic books, and they throw out the toys as well. Well, in this generation of the 80s, that began to change. And that's when you start to have the emphasis of adult toy collectors. And this is something that Hasbro really did not expect, but it came organically. And you start to have toy conventions. Toy conventions where collectors of the Transformers series could come and show off their entire collections of Decepticon characters and Autobot characters, and even among the other toy lines as well. And that generated a whole new consumer. Whereas, once it was just a child, now it was the consumer. And now you have, out of all of that, Comic-Con, and now it is no longer to the, how can I put it, to the joy of the creditors and bankers of Hasbro, that now you have this entire new revenue stream that does not just come from the child, comes from the adult as well. And, you know, now they, you know, for the 25th anniversary, you could get, now these are the original Constructicon toys here. And you see they just open up, hold on. This is Hook from the Constructicon series, so you can see what that looks like. And, you know, the Devastator toy, which I did not know then, came with a gift set. But, you know, the problem with the Constructicon toys, at least as far as I was concerned, is that, you know, you had to buy them separately, and you had to keep the pieces that would form the Devastator toy. I would have just gone on and bought the gift set had I known about that gift set way back when. But nevertheless, and you know, I saw the commercial for it, but you know, I guess I just wasn't paying attention or whatever it was. But nevertheless, even in terms of the toy series, there was this whole Combiners series that was related to both Metroplex, which I did have and lost in a move, and Trypticon. And of course, one of the lost episodes of the Transformers series was, I think, I want to say it was Confusion City, where you saw the beginnings of what would become Autobot City in the movie being constructed. And you also saw the Combiner series with the Takara toy line, because that was a long Takara commercial. The Combiners went with the city versions of Metroplex and Trypticon, and, you know, you could launch them and everything else like that. But anyway, to end this episode, that is the great thing that came out of the toy series. The toys ushered in this period where adults would become collectors of these toys. And in terms of action figures in general, people who know the 40-year-old version, the 40-year-old version. So, in the next series, we're going to talk about strictly the economics of all of this, and I'll end it there. I'm going to do something entirely independent thing on Transformers the movie, but nevertheless, that is where we're going to end it for this series of the Transformers and the creation of a pop culture or $1 billion brand.